A very good evening to you. You're live here on GHOne TV. It's time for News Tonight with me, Natalie. First, let's take a look at our top stories. What was promised to be a new wave leaves commuters livid as 24th May fare reduction rejected by many drivers on the D-Day.
The way I would start here, do Nanka, 1 hour cancel where to order, sir.
Also coming up, underage and unchecked Kaneshie SHS students caught smoking Shisha in bar as disturbing video sparks outrage. It's our Social Protection Week. We talk about that in this bulletin. As the African Union turns 62 tomorrow, the question of the essence of African liberation comes up. We speak with a PanAfricanist. Also in the bulletin, at least 7 Sudanese refugees have been found dead after their vehicle broke down in the Libyan desert. This bulletin streams live on Facebook and X at GHOne TV. Let's get started with our headline story of a disturbing video captured by GHOne TV, where some minors believed to be students of the Kaneshie Senior High School were seen in a bar served with a water pipe, popularly known as Shisha. The boys were seen in the Kaneshie Senior High School uniforms using their mobile phones while enjoying the bar's ambience. However, an adult intervened in the situation, calling them to order. Before we speak more on this matter, let's take a look at the video. Well, let's stay on this. Our reporter, Ejakum Banah, witnessed the situation. Ejakum, good evening to you. Now, first of all, help us actually understand what exactly is going on in this video. Roll out and paint a picture of what transpired at the bar.
In fact, these images are students from Kaneshie Senior High School who were caught on camera smoking Shisha, and the footage obtained by GHOne News shows the students indulging in the substance, sparkling concern about the influence of substance abuse among minors. You know, the incident highlights the need for increased awareness and support for students struggling with substance abuse, and we'll continue to monitor the situation and provide updates as more information becomes available. And so we have made up our mind that by Monday, roughly by tomorrow next, we are going to engage some school authorities at Kateko, Kaneshie Senior High School, to at least engage the authorities there to ask them if anyway they have any idea about whatever is going on or whatever has happened at the bar. And so this is what I can report for now, Natalie.
Right, interesting development, Ejakum. But can you confirm what time of day this was? When were they caught on camera doing this?
That was yesterday. In fact, I was going to have some lunch around that bar. In fact, that is where I used to take my drink. Okay, so I was there, and it was very unfortunate. I saw these students, but then I was around the corner. A man was trying to engage. In fact, he engaged these students, asking them why they are doing this. In fact, it was very, very unfortunate. But then this chief, asked them to kneel down, and he was asking them questions. If they knew what they were doing was right, why are they trying to hide? In fact, hide. And so, as you can see, when you listen to the video, most of the students don't hear the gun, and so the chief will speak the gun, and one of his palace entourage will also explain to them in chief. And so, in fact, they were saying that they don't take alcohol. Moreover, they don't also, take any substance. But this is their first time doing this. And so, GHOne, we are yet to, engage the school authorities to find out from them if they have also captured this video on their table, or if maybe they have any actions or punishments against the students. GHOne will make sure that you're going to bring it out to our listeners, definitely.
Certainly will, Ejakum. And before I let you go, so you say you were about having your lunch, which makes me assume it was around midday, I believe, or some hours. It was school-going hours, simply put. It was a time at which they should be in school. Yes? And you say that the person who caught them was a chief who asked them to kneel down upon recognizing what they were doing and speaking to them. Now, where exactly were the bar authorities at this time? Did you get the chance to engage with the servers or the bar authorities? Did they have a reason for serving minors?
In fact, the bar is around Kaneshie, okay, but due to security issues, we would not love to expose the name of the bar. But then when things comes to West, we'll make sure authorities or security agencies will also caution these bar owners to make sure that they do their things right. And so, due to security issues, we are still making sure we investigate the matter thoroughly and make sure how, in fact, such a bar owner will allow students who are underage to enter such a bar to, buy a shisha. In fact, it's very damning. And so, as I'm speaking to you right now, we are still under investigation. We will also make sure that we engage these bar owners and ask them if indeed this is what they have been doing to these school-going people, because such behavior must be eliminated in our system. And of course, we all understand very well that this hard substance called red has spoiled many of our sisters and brothers. And so, in fact, urging with some security people or stakeholders to also campaign against that. And so, if you have asked me this question, by tomorrow or Monday going, we are going to, question the school authorities to make sure that they do things right. And whoever owns the bar must also call to book to come and answer some questions, Natalie.
Ejakum, thank you so much for the update there and for bringing this story to light. We'll certainly engage you subsequently for more on that. Well, let's stay on this. Joining us for a discussion is Bright Appia, the Executive Director of Child Rights. Good evening to you. Thank you so much, Bright, for joining us this evening. Now, you have just heard me engaging with our reporter. These minors of the Kaneshie school, that is, senior high school, were served shisha at a bar somewhere in Accra, as he put it, during lunch hours. How disturbing and concerning is this situation?
Well, I have just had the opportunity to look at some of the pieces of the video. So, in terms of the full details, I will not be able to speak to that. But if we've been able to establish that they are minors, then we can discuss it in that context, because the student that I saw, I may presume that some of them are above 18 years, so I wouldn't be able to speak more on that. But if we are to take the reporter's word that they are minors, then I would establish my fact on the basis of his statement. And the point is that if they are minors, then it means that they are below 18 years, and for that matter, they do not need to find themselves in the environment at all. And whoever sent them there and whoever served them have also committed offense, because we all know that there are certain substances that you cannot commercially sell to a child, not even sell to the child, whether it's been sent or for his or her own consumption. But if the child was served at the bar and consumed that particular substance at the bar, then the owners have committed offense, and I think that we need to deal with that. And if we feel that there are certain issues about the children participation in the process, then we can also look at it purely from the social point of view. From their point of view, they've not really committed any offense, but anybody who has that supervisory role should be able to know that the substance they are selling to the 8 years is prohibited, and you need not to engage the child, or you need not to make any commercial activity from them. So if that act has taken place, then it means that the owners of the bar should be held responsible. And this is based on the fact that if it has been confirmed that they are minors, and if that is what it is, then we have to hold the owners of the bar responsible for that act.
Right. So you mentioned in this case, of course, we are still gathering some further details on the issue, but having been told by our reporter that, yes, indeed, they are minors and they are even clothed in their school uniforms as well. Just moving forward, how do we deal with such instances? There might be a case where there are minors, probably not even wearing school uniforms, entering pubs and bars and engaging in such activities. How should we deal with this in the long haul?
I think that we need to enforce some of these provisions, because you know that you cannot sell alcohol to a child that below the age of 18 years, whether somebody has sent him or her, or for his or her own consumption. You cannot do that. Your cigarettes and other substances you cannot do. Even when you go to the pharmacy, there are certain drugs that when a child comes to the pharmacist to buy it, you need not to administer that drugs to the child. So I think that we need to enforce that rule, so that we don't allow children, we don't see children doing this kind of activities. Again, if it's an issue of children using those substances, is that we need to also ensure that social order where we have to provide some kind of discipline within our educational system, them to recognize the effect of these drugs so that they don't participate in age usage. So these are the two things that for now I would say in respect to this particular matter.
Very well. Bright Appia, Executive Director, Child Rights. Thank you so much for engaging with us. We'll certainly engage you subsequently as we gather more details on this issue. You're still live here on News Tonight. In other news this evening, today is May 24, the day set for commercial transport operators to effect a Ghana Private Road Transport Union's directive on fare reduction. While some drivers in the capital say they have reluctantly reduced the fares by 15% in compliance with the directive, others beg governments to ensure prices of other goods and services are also lowered to match the reduction in their income. What actually took place today per the directive? Well, Zuleiha Nuhu brings us the details.
After months of rising transport costs, commuters sighed relief as the Ghana Private Road Transport Union directed a 15% reduction in fares effective Saturday, May 24th. GPRTU says it comes in response to a drop in fuel prices and a strengthening cedi. But has this promise translated into reality? At the Kwame Nkrumah Circle Bus Terminal, some drivers incensed described the decision to reduce fares as unfair. One such driver accused the government and politicians of being inconsiderate towards drivers' livelihoods. He noted that drivers have been forced to cut fares when no other sector has been compelled to do the same.
Fair is on the Ammoir because many yet at fair. And I got on Sua, 50 pesos, 50 pesos. Okoto 10 cedi. Okoto 5 cedi. At the end of Chelsea at the 10 years, draft went here. Jomamo where did the man and what is their pamono? Because Moko also can come as a debony at us. And no bed farm bet is now got 1.5. Pipe who are injectors for people now got 1.5. Breakfast for Ghana, stay good in a home. Now, on my money now, the one who say, down for entity a lot first. President Mama said,
several drivers confirmed they reluctantly implemented a 15% fare reduction, but are demanding the government to ensure that the cost of other essentials is adjusted accordingly to match their reduced income.
Yatete so sa no pay almost out to diesel mu. Enti entiase say o mom yatete first no masan atu diesel mu. And also higher. Higher pa. E catch na ban say come yenye the agent no na because head diesel almost out tumbi.
Lord fed yateso. Babuki fin so yente so. Ka una fonso so nte almost so. Ebi aye papa de o man we ebe boy nyina ba mesira mo amonka nche landlord for o monte o mo dan so. E february for na ebe fro car. Enso o mo dan o monte so. Nti mesira mo landlord for no. Any rent control for no. O mo monte dan bo. Senya sa. Krom ha Ghana. Driver for a demonstration at your landlord for.
Men charge say fair ya tumu de dada yes betisu biem. Let's say the confusion eba. Timi de men tiase ye panyin ni ya tina mi bisa ne se no so mate so. Na de nta ye 10 cities so say 9 cities.
Ye ba sisia na nka me ko Kaneshie ba minya problem timi ya maka. O ka chem se fe dada na no no oje. Apani apa say the big problem ni nti. Mi tia 4 cedi ni di manu. Mi manu 3 cedi kwa oso onje. Enti fe ni dia ebi nje ebi teso ye ba media sisi a me ba mati media no so.
Kakra ha mende. Wa todo e wo yan ele. Ba bako baabi no na baabi so won todo. Ofan cement bako store se bia mo na nwa na no man keten. To ba na ma na yesu edi yem. Ndi sa aban no me yehwe nde nka obende. The way I would start here, you do. Nanka, 1 hour can shoot where to order, sir. Maybe I come. So until I'm there, no, you also have enjoy.
However, there's a growing confusion among passengers. While some say they have noticed the fare cuts, many claim there has been no change.
Manopandia me banadia, a bimuntis way. But I see I'm a frequently airban on what is so. Until I say, and yet Obiana. Implementing on air canal.
We are planning them to reduce it for us because things are very difficult nowadays. The economy is very hard. So if the government brings something out to help all Ghanaians, they should accept that.
I caught Razak. When I'm from Kaba, na 10 cedi. The same 10 cedi Nigeria. Besides, I didn't hear almost just say. Monday, be democracy or Montesocra.
Me come Madina. Lol Phenomontesu, the Omodina no anomaly. The Dana anomaly. Omontesu.
While the 15% reduction is welcomed by passengers, the lack of conformity on the part of drivers may cause stiffs in public transportation moving forward. Commuters are urging authorities to intervene. For GHOne News and Star FM, Zuleyha Nuhu.
Well, let's stay on this a while longer and engage with Samuel Ammoir, the Deputy Industrial Regulations Officer of the GPRTU. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us here on News Tonight. Now, we've just heard some drivers and passengers expressing their reactions on day one of this exercise. The fare reduction officially took effect today. How have you observed a smooth rollout? And would you say generally drivers are cooperating?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me say good evening to you and your viewers. Yes, since morning, we have been monitoring the reduction exercise that we are doing. We have been monitoring from all the 16 regions, as we earlier sent a circular to all the regional officers to make sure that they comply with these directives. Yes, we understood that in the morning there were some small challenges, from some of the stations, but going forward, we find out that they started to comply. Some were saying that their officers or their branch officers, were not able to print the prices, for them to, apply. That is why they delayed. And some are saying they want to start from Monday, but we keep telling them that no, the whole thing is starting from today, 24th. And that why is it that they wait till Monday? But the other challenge too that we encounter was from some of the drivers that don't belong to any of the unions. That is like my side. Like when you come to Ashaiman, my station and all the other stations in Ashama were complying, but the only challenge we are having is from the floaters that don't belong to any of the union. That is where we find a little challenge. But we are still, talking to them, and we know that they will comply.
Right. Now, we did hear some drivers argue about the cost of spare parts and fuel as well, and some even touching on general prices of goods and services being reduced. What has been the general feedback from them? You talk about these floaters. How can they also be brought to book, given that they don't belong to any of these unions?
Yes, talking about these floating drivers, there is a law against them, but we don't know why the authorities are not taking up this law and making sure that they enforce this law, because the road traffic regulation, LI 2180, regulation 121 state clearly that before one can become a commercial transport operator, such operator must belong to an existing transport union. That is what the law says. And if someone finds himself, operating without belonging to any of the union, there are sanctions. One, that driver has to be taken to court, and there is a fine and a charge to it. But I don't know why the authorities are not doing that. But yes, still, we keep telling them that we normally go out there when things go high. We go out there, meet the ministry to negotiate or to talk about the transport fare increment. And after we get the increment, they all join us to increase. Why is it that now that there is a need for us to reduce, why are they saying that they won't reduce? Yeah, so all that we are saying is we also talk to the passengers, passengers that do call. We tell them from Monday, if you find yourself in a vehicle and the driver says it's not reducing, if only you pick the vehicle from a station, you report to the station authorities. If not, then if you see a police personnel around, you only report to the police personnel, and they make sure that such driver will comply.
Very well. Thank you so much, Samuel Ammoir, for the updates and details there. That's the Deputy Industrial Regulations Officer of the GPRTU joining us on that issue. We'll certainly monitor it and bring you more on it subsequently. You're watching News Tonight here on GH1 TV. We bring you more news shortly. Do stay. You're welcome back to News Tonight here on GHOne TV. In more news this evening, the Eastern South Regional Police Command has arrested a suspect in connection with the unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition at Nsawam Aduadri in the Eastern region. The suspect, Abdul Rauf Salami, was arrested on Friday, May 23 during intensified police operations.
The arrest of Abdul Rauf Salami, a resident of Aduadri Zongo, occurred at 9:30 p.m. during a targeted police operation. The operation focused on securing all entry and exit points of Aduadri in response to recent disturbances that have unsettled the community. Police retrieved several dangerous items from the suspect, including 2 pump-action shotguns, 64 rounds of AA ammunition, an ammunition vest, a cutlass, and a knife. Abdul Rauf Salami is currently in police custody, assisting with investigations, and is expected to be arraigned before a court in the coming days. The police assured residents of firm measures to restore and maintain peace in the area. They also urged the public to maintain vigilant and report any suspicious activity to the nearest police station.
Away from that, the Minister for Communications, Samuel Natalie, has called on African nations to deepen regional integration and foster stronger diplomatic and economic ties to drive the continent's development agenda. Speaking at the 62nd African Union Day celebration in Accra, the minister emphasized the need for democratic governance and inclusive leadership, urging African leaders to recommit to silencing the guns and ending conflict across the continent.
Ghana on Friday joined the rest of the continent in commemorating the 62nd African Union Day with a flag-raising ceremony at the forecourt of the State House in Accra. The ceremony brought together members of the diplomatic corps, particularly from African missions, alongside security personnel, school children, and government officials. Delivering the keynote address, Minister for Communications Samuel Natalie described the occasion as a significant opportunity to reflect on the continent's path to justice, equity, and sustainable peace.
Team inspires us to embrace a collaborative approach to reparative justice with a vision of fostering equitable opportunities for all. The initiative also aligns with the AU's Agenda 2063 for an integrated, peaceful, and prosperous continent. The African Union aims to address systemic racism and economic exclusion, thereby contributing to a more just and inclusive Africa. The theme serves as an invitation for governments, civil society organizations, and the African diaspora to unite in the pursuit of rectifying past wrongs and nurturing a future founded on justice and reconciliation.
Also addressing the gathering, the Dean of the African Group and Ambassador of the Kingdom of Morocco, Her Excellency Emmanuel Adil, urged African leaders to prioritize unity and cooperation in building a peaceful and prosperous continent.
Africa is a continent full of similarities and contrasts, comprising countries that are remarkably different in their geography, yet very similar in their history and culture. It has vast human and natural resources that have the potential to eradicate poverty in the region and drive opportunity and prosperity for all.
62 years on, the flame lit by Africa's founding fathers still burns bright. The African Union, now comprising 55 member states, remains a symbol of the continent's collective pursuit of integration, peace, and a shared destiny.
Well, let's now engage with a Pan-Africanist on this issue, and that's Ejakum Banah. Good evening to you. Thank you very much for joining us here on News Tonight. Now, 62 years of African unity. From where you sit, from your assessment, how well have we done?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your cherished viewers. Technically, from a Pan-Africanist point of view, and precisely coming from the Convention People's Party, the government of Osage Dr. Kwame Nkrumah that orchestrated or was key in founding the Organization of African Unity, which today we have at the AU. I think that African states have not done much. I think that the vision of our forefathers or of our forebears have not been achieved at all. In fact, we are not even, if I would say, 30% to the vision. And I'll give you a speech by a Gambian nationalist and a Pan-Africanist in 1963, when the heads of state met in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. This is what he told the leaders, that the success of the OAU will inspire and speed up the freedom and total independence of all African states to eradicate imperialism and colonialism, which in effect will end up to eradicate neo-colonialism. However, if you fail, it will lead to our bitterness and disappointment. And that is where we are. Everybody can see. It's so clear around the globe. The bitterness and the disappointment is very huge. So it simply means that we have failed.
Right. So you say we failed at African unity throughout the 62-year period. In your words, we have failed.
We have basically failed because at the end of the day, what it is that the issue of our forebears was basically about African unity. Because first and foremost, we wanted to kick out colonialism and imperialism. But another key area of our forefathers was to foster and speed up the political and socio-economic integration and benefit of our people. That was key at the time of the Organization of African Unity, and it's key today in the AU. Because you see, if we are able to economically move Africa forward, all our problems will subside. Ask yourself, as a journalist, has Africa been able to realize the economic and social, cultural emancipation of the continent? We have not. We still remain as a poor continent.
You talk about the economic prosperity of the continent. As we know, many African countries are still heavily reliant on foreign aid. From where you sit, and how do you say that we improve on this situation? It's been 62 years already. You describe it as having been a failure so far. What's the way forward?
I mean, the way forward has always been what we have in the blueprints. And I will go back to my political party once again, the CPP. And don't forget, I was the running mate for the CPP in 2024, and we had a good policy to follow what Kwame Nkrumah laid for us. And you see, if we begin to look at economic emancipation, we are looking at improving agriculture on a large scale. For instance, today, we have so many arable lands across the continent, and African leaders are basically not getting the cue to just get into massive agricultural industrialization. Today, Ukraine was fighting, but they were able to supply grains. Russia was doing the special operations and was able to supply grains. We were not in any battle, but we cannot even get grains. So we are not looking at the issue from the Pan-Africanist point of view, where we must begin to look at homegrown policies. African leaders, all the over 54, 55, let's take the Western Sahara people out, 54 heads of state, they are not looking at the situation. Now look at what our young brother in Burkina Faso is trying to do. Burkina Faso is now giving us more tomatoes than Ghana, who is not even at any war with any terrorists and trying to kick out insurgents. How can a country that is fighting insurgents still be producing tomatoes at that high level?
So you say ramping up agriculture. I would have to round up here, but in under a minute, how would you touch on issues? I mean, a key factor of economic prosperity is ensuring peace and stability across the continent. And as we know, some African countries are bedeviled with war and conflict. How do you think that we can solve that particular issue through Pan-Africanism as well?
Thank you very much. That area of promoting, unity, security, peace, and stability is another area which is an aim of the African Union, which African countries have not realized. We are supposed to promote the cohesion and solidarity. Today, if we look at what is happening even in West Africa alone, 3 West African countries say that, no, enough of our foreign colonizers. We want to take our independence back and be able to manage our own affairs. What is ECOWAS doing? ECOWAS is blatantly shunning them. Instead of ECOWAS solidarizing with them, ECOWAS is rather leaving them. So you get to see that even the principle for cohesion, peace, security, and stability, that principle of African unity, we have even lost that one. So it's not only on economic front. On so many of the aims and objectives of the African Union, the African leaders are not able to achieve it. We are not solidifying any processes. We are not having any solidarity with people who are trying to look at. A clear example is what's happening with the Sahel nations. They are simply telling France to go away and first give them a respect and then fairness. And then ECOWAS has abandoned them. Where is the solidarity here? When it is a principle under the AU that we must move to greater cohesion and solidarity. So we have lost so many of the objectives of the African Union, both economic
and with disability. With a lack of policy support protecting such parents, they often find themselves not only emotionally drained, but battling other pressures of life, not limited to just their careers. As such, they want measures put in place to alleviate their burden.
Meet Hannah Awaji, a parent caregiver. She's been raising her child who has cerebral palsy since she was birthed 12 years ago. Her child, unable to gain admission to a number of schools, was being homeschooled but could no longer continue due to a number of challenges. Hannah, in an emotional appeal to the government, wants laws and support systems that ease the burden on families raising children with disabilities.
There are no laws, there are no support systems for caregivers. There should be laws, there should be support systems in place that helps you as a caregiver to take care of yourself. Because taking care of a person with disability all the time, all your life, will give you another problem. It will give you mental health challenges. So there's a need for social inclusion, and there's a need to include parent caregivers in policy discussions so that we can be on the table and make suggestions about what we can do.
Hannah's story is a reflection of what many parent caregivers go through in their daily lives. Recognizing such challenges and its consequences on women and poverty, member states of the UN committed 30 years ago in Beijing to achieve the equal rights of all women and girls. At a forum by Voices of Women and Children with Disabilities in Ghana to review progress of the Beijing Declaration, VOAC Ghana pushed for more inclusive policies for women and girls with disabilities.
Would be grateful if we can even have a discussion with the gender minister, the president, even the vice president, to discuss with them the need to promote the rights, inclusion and participation of women and girls with disabilities and their caregivers in all endeavors of the society. So that is what we are seeking to do. We are not just presenting the report and putting it down. We are developing action plans, and we are going to use the action plans to advocate and also do other activities.
Elisa Ifianati, a person with disability who was at the forum, also called for safeguards against violence on PWDs.
The government should come to our aid, especially women and girls with disabilities, in terms of our education and also accessibilities. So the government should put in place some laws that will protect women and girls with disabilities against gender-based violence.
The forum ended with a call for stronger laws, inclusive policies, and continued engagement to ensure that no woman or girl with disability is left behind.
In other news, the North Moog Traditional Council has lauded President John Dramani Mahama for what they describe as a bold and unifying decision in appointing Abdul Mahmoud as District Chief Executive for the Bole District Assembly. At a Durbar held in the Savannah region, the chiefs expressed deep appreciation for the president's commitment to merit and inclusivity despite public protests tied to ethnicity and origin.
Thank you. In a show of solidarity and gratitude, the North Moog Traditional Council has commended President John Dramani Mahama for appointing Abdul Mahmoud as District Chief Executive for the Bole District. Speaking at a Durbar in the Savannah region, Jama Koro and Paramount Chief of Jama Traditional Area, now Professor Lanjago Karle II, in a speech on behalf of the Council's President and Paramount Chief of Bamboy, now Kweku Dapa II.
That is how we are. So, Bole, Bamboy, we are playmates and we are always going to be in that kind of situation.
He praised the president for upholding fairness and inclusivity in governance, despite pockets of opposition based on ethnic grounds.
The challenges ahead demand our collective strength and wisdom to ensure that his administration is characterized by effective service delivery, inclusivity, and measurable progress.
The traditional leaders also expressed appreciation to the overlord of Gonjaland and president of the Savannah Regional House of Chiefs, Yagbonwura Jira Bikunito Jeu Swale, for his continued support and guidance in fostering peace and unity across the region. Tension escalated in the Bole municipality following the nomination of Abdul Mahmoud as municipal chief executive. A group identifying itself as Arise Bole Youth opposed the appointment, citing the nominee's non-indigenous status and threatening to resist his confirmation through violent means. Despite the opposition, the Bole Municipal Assembly proceeded with the confirmation, approving Abdul Mahmoud with 83% of the votes.
Still live here on News Tonight on GHOne TV. Do stay with us. We bring you more news shortly. In business this evening, the Executive Director of the Advertising Association of Ghana, Isaac Kujo, is calling on the government to set up an advertising council under the Ministry of Trade to oversee and regulate activities within the industry. He argues that this would be a more effective solution than having the Food and Drugs Authority enforce its proposed advertising guidelines.
Drink. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
It is common to see approved by the FDA on many products advertised on TV and radio, as the Food and Drugs Authority requires this for most regulated items on commercial stations nationwide. Despite this, Ghana does not yet have comprehensive advertising laws. A draft bill has been before Parliament for some time, but has failed to pass after multiple attempts during the 7th and 8th Parliaments. While some members of the Advertising Association must follow FDA guidelines, These rules do not fully support business promotion or enforce strong ethical standards within the industry. Speaking with the executive director of the Advertising Association of Ghana, he explained why the advertising bill to Parliament should be regulated by a council rather than FDA guidelines.
Sweet beverages cannot be advertised together with what they call junk food or with food, or food institutions or establishments cannot advertise their product, their food, together with sweet beverages. So, for instance, Coca-Cola cannot be advertised together with KFC, or if you like, pizza, on billboards. You can only do it in your restaurant. We said this is an overreach. So they are looking just at the science part of it, looking at the commercial part of it. And that's going to affect a lot of revenue. And also we challenge the fact that they would want FDA to be mentioned in every advert. When we advertise on air, it is money. Every second is paid for. So you see that right now, people even fasten that part. These are people every it goes, because that space is money.
He further revealed that before you are allowed to advertise, you must be licensed by the council.
The bill itself, it will regulate content so that content is clean. Whatever is churned out is correct and is ethical. That bill will be administered by the Trade Ministry, the Trade and Industry Ministry. Then we will be members of the council, the Advertising Council, so that every practitioner, anybody who enters the advertising industry as a practitioner would be regulated. In other words, that if you are an advertiser of any form, you will be known by government, you'll be known by the council, you'll be licensed, so that whatever you do is monitored, so that we don't have all these irregular advertising, practices and all these crazy, messy situations we're having with the out of home or what we call billboards. The indirect side also will also benefit because everything will have to be done locally. We will not accept foreign impositions, when it comes to advertising.
Standardization is a key factor in regulating commercial advertising. Several West African countries have enacted legislative measures to improve the commercial advertising space. Members are hopeful that the bill will pass soon.
And in other business news, a key player in the agricultural sector, West and Central African Council for Agricultural Research and Development, CORAF, is urging governments in sub-Saharan Africa to introduce female-targeted incentives to boost women's participation in agricultural extension services. At a regional training workshop in Ghana's capital, Accra, CORAF emphasized the importance of breaking cultural barriers that hinder the involvement of women in agricultural development. Mary Appia has the rest of the story.
The ongoing training, organized by CORAF in partnership with the Food and Agriculture Organization, has drawn researchers from across Africa. The aim is to build capacity for integrating gender considerations into agricultural research and extension services. At the opening ceremony, technical assistant at CORAF, Dr. Komlaki Kiganyo, called on African governments to introduce specific support mechanisms for women to help bridge the gender gap in the sector.
We have some farmer organization group, and those of this organization are mainly women organizations. So if the government need to give support regarding machine or tool to women, it is to go direct to those organizations who are working on the ground. The incentive from the government should be first to give some incentive means to women. For instance, to give them some loan and also support so that they can acquire equipment, they can acquire machine to facilitate their work in agriculture.
Regional Gender Advisor for CORAF, Dr. Mariam Maiga, also stressed that food security cannot be achieved without deliberate efforts to include women in agricultural policy and practice.
Gender responsive communication tools. These are all about
tools or means of communication that can facilitate the access to the technology for these underprivileged to really take advantage to enhance their food productivity. But as I said also, getting access to the technology for us presents enormous potential in terms of job creation along the value chains. So it's really a very, very key issue for us.
The training forms part of the Food System Resilience Program, which aims to promote more inclusive and sustainable agricultural system across West Africa.
Do stay with us here on News Tonight. We bring you sports news shortly. Sports Tonight's president of the Ghana Football Association, Kurt Okreku, has revealed that his administration has been supportive of women's football and that has led to the current success and improvement of the women's game in Ghana. Mr. Okreku was speaking in an exclusive interview with EIB Network's Monica Bukhari, where he also disclosed that the exodus of the Black Queens players to the foreign leagues were as a result of the hard work of the FA.
Firm commitment of standing shoulder to shoulder with them. I listened to them. They had so many challenges at that time. And I said to them that I'll be at the forefront of the push for them to get the needed attention. Indeed, over time, we have been very, very supportive of the female sport. Today, we are playing U15 leagues. Yeah. Today, we are investing and supporting the Women Division 1 League. Today, the Women's Premier League is much improved. It still has a lot of potential and it can be much, much better, to be honest. Today, the Black Queens are getting a lot of support from the FA. Today, 80-90% of the Black Queens players play abroad because of visibility that has been offered by this football association. By way of the TV broadcast of their games. Today, we are offering.
Meanwhile, Mr. Okreku, who also serves as CAF's second vice president, has admitted that the absence of a league sponsor for the Ghana Premier League is a worry, but has assured clubs that there would be a sponsor by the next season.
Not have is a headline sponsor for the Ghana Premier League. Okay, so it's a phase in the life of the league. What is true is that the marketing department, the ESCO of the Football Association have been working behind the clock. Is it behind the clock or around the clock or in between the clock? Just to make sure that we get key partners to support the Premier League. And I'm very sure that it will come very soon. I say this all the time. And the question people ask once I make such a statement is that, oh, how soon will it come? And I'll answer by saying that it's coming. Okay. I think that we've been working quite well. I don't want to speak too much about what is going to happen in the upcoming season, but what I know for a fact is that our clubs will be happy.
Let's now turn our attention to the title race in the Ghana Premier League. League leaders Nation FC will hope to stay top of the table at home this week when they play last season's champions FC Summertex, while title contenders Gold Stars will face Asante Kotoko in Bibiani in a top of the table clash. In Wenchi, Young Apostles, who are safe from relegation, face Heart of Lions in a game that could see Lions close the gap at the top of the table with a win. All these and other games will be on Sunday at 3 p.m. And that's it for sports news this evening. Next is international news. In international news this evening, at least 7 Sudanese refugees have been found dead after their vehicle broke down in the Libyan deserts. The group of 34 had crossed from Chad using a remote smuggling route and were stranded for 11 days without food or water. 22 survivors, including children, were rescued and taken to Kufra for treatment. 5 others are still missing, with little hope they'll be found alive. Libya remains a key transit point for migrants fleeing conflict in Africa and the Middle East. Emergency crews say cases like this are becoming increasingly common. Or do visit our website, starfm.com.gh, for lots more international and local stories. That's how we draw the curtains on news tonight this evening. Thanks to you for making the time. It was produced by Ejakum Banah. I am Natalie. From I and the entire team, have a wonderful evening.